Hey everybody, how you doing? It is 7 o'clock here, Christmas week. Thank you so much for tuning into the Yard Sign, the most important and relevant podcast in politics. We appreciate you. We hope you're doing great. Again, working on big things behind the scenes to make 2021 a huge year for the show, but we appreciate your support. All you got to do is like, comment, share throughout the show, and subscribe on all our social media platforms, whether you be watching on YouTube or Facebook, and then you can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter as well. We got a Parler account out there, but it's not too active, if you know what I mean. And of course, you've got the audio version of the podcast that you can catch on Google, Apple, Spotify, Audible, and Amazon Audio. So make sure you go ahead and pick that up. Let's see. Hold on one second. I'm working on getting my graphics here. There we go. We're going to go ahead and run through today's topics before we get over to the cast. We got a strong cast today, and they are fired up, man. I had to, put my foot down here just to get them to shut up for a few minutes before we got started. Electoral College, we'll dissect, the Democrats' former most hated, now favorite part of our electoral process. And, of course, we'll pick apart the presidential election that just won't go away. Vaccine deployment, of course, all the first round of the COVID vaccine have been deployed. Who's gotten it, who hasn't, and of course, why is that a problem? Stimulus package. Just in time to get enrolled in the Jelly of the Month Club. We got a nice stimulus package rolled out by Congress. We'll pick it apart, or what little is there is to pick apart. And local COVID restrictions and the mess that it is creating, between those who want power and try to exercise it and those who have the power and are stopping the others from doing so. So to that effect, let me go ahead, and I'm almost scared to turn up the mics today, but we'll go ahead over to the big table where we got our usual cast of characters. What's up, fellas?
Howdy.
Hey.
All right, from left to right, we have got Mr. Joe Wicker. What's up, buddy?
Glad
How you doing?
Glad to be here.
Wrong
I'm
title.
ready
There
to
we
roll.
go. All right, looking sharp, man. I like it. I know,
Got my
man.
Christmas tie on.
You guys are just constantly just showing me up. I roll in here, and
I'm not as festive as this guy.
that is true.
Wow.
Man, I thought the Argyle was stepping it up, but that sweater is something else, man. Merry Christmas to you.
And it's not his ugly sweater. That's the thing.
That's his best one.
It's 'tis the season. We all need to show off our festivity. We've had some crushing victories in the past few months here. So, or crushing defeats in the last few months.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
And
are you talking about
all
the other elections other than all the other races other than President Trump? Ironically, all the other elections.
Can I finish, sir? Can I finish?
If you haven't noticed, the guy who is fired up just happens to also have the coffee in hand, and so it's going to be a fun show. And over to the far right, one of Secret Santa's little helpers is Anibal Cabrera. What's up, man?
Hey.
This is only
I don't know.
Has Santa had his COVID shot?
Tie it into Christmas somehow.
Might as well cancel Santa along with everything else.
That's right.
COVID. It's the excuse for everything.
Dr. Fauci vaccinated Santa personally.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
He said so.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I believe it.
He was on
weird.
Sesame Street actually talking about it.
Hey, you can take trips to the North Pole when you get paid no matter what. I mean, he doesn't have to show up to work.
Wow. Shots fired.
He's not like us peasants, having to actually go and work. Fauci gets paid no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
He's technically working.
And Cuomo's the worst of all. And then, of course, now we got the news that came out this week about Dr. Birx, after she gave
had
this.
Thanksgiving.
Right after she gave this big talk in front of the media. It turns out she went in, not only did she have Thanksgiving, but she also traveled to another state with a large family.
Don't tell me it was in a car or an airplane.
Oh,
don't tell me.
I think it was. It was.
Okay.
And there was
the new COVID restrictions. You can
dozens
only
of
travel
family
by
members
horse. You have to travel by horse outside.
Horses cannot get COVID, apparently. No, and that's probably
only
not
equine travel.
That's right. Only equine travel. We're all Amish now. It's back to the apocalypse. I think it's a fresh start.
Good times.
Little side note: when you get on the entry ramps to the interstate in places like Kentucky, which I like Kentucky. It's a nice state. I was stationed there 3 times. But when you get on the interstate, they have a sign of all the things that you're not allowed to be on the interstate with. And it mentions not only like all-terrain vehicles, but it mentions horses and buggies. And I'm like,
Nice.
Why do you need to warn people that they can't take their horse and buggy on the interstate? Why is this a necessary warning?
Apparently, it's
at
very
least
necessary.
twice.
But because it happens, obviously, right?
Yeah.
That's why the warning is there.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get on topic here, fellas. Again, thank you to everybody watching. Caesar Bermuda's jumping on early, along with our good friend Hector Gonzalez, always watching the show. The Electoral College, a hot mess, because now there's talk about the January 6th, which is not only the day before my birthday, but it also may be a historical day in political history, at least in recent modern history, where there's some talk about them possibly challenging some of the electors, and again, really testing the mettle of this Electoral College process. I find it amusing, especially how, again, Democrats just railed for 4 years about how much they hated the Electoral College, and not a single peep from them.
Yeah,
ever
don't
since.
hear any complaining now, do
Yeah,
you?
exactly. It's kind of like the anti-war movement.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've seen Matt Gaetz talk about it. Of course, he's in Trump's right hand pocket. It's the most fervent of the president's supporters are trying to make some hay about this January 6th date. Do you think anything's going to go down?
No.
Let's just start there.
I think the
Is it
Electoral
over?
College is going to vote. Yeah, I think they're going to vote for Biden, and because my understanding of the states that have so far, I don't know if I'm using the right terminology. They sent both sets of electors, or they had competing electors, or whatever.
Alternate electors.
Whatever the terminology is. My understanding was that they did that because it enabled the Trump campaign to still have the ability to bring suits in those states. I thought that was more of a strategic play to allow the continuation of lawsuits and not to close it down to where it becomes a moot point and where courts can just say, oh, it doesn't matter now.
But
That was my understanding. So it's not that they're really faithless electors. It's that they did that so that the courts couldn't ignore the lawsuits in those states. That was my understanding of why.
But I don't think at this point, I don't think this country has the attention span or the tolerance for this process. I think if January 20th or 21st or whatever the day the inauguration is comes and goes, they're just going to move on. And I think they'll see anything besides that as a nuisance at this point. I mean, if these attempts have failed all across the country, even at the Supreme Court level,
Right.
why does anyone think that this moment on January 6th is going to be any different?
Well, personally, I think this leaves me I have a lot to be desired in our judicial system because of this. If you see all these cases and they all been dismissed because the judge didn't want to be the person that allowed this to go forward. They knew that what they would have judged, if the case were allowed to be heard, they would have allowed basically an election to be overturned underneath the purview of their court. And they didn't want anything to do with that. That's why they were turned down as opposed to the actual merit of the cases. I mean, you see all these individual anecdotes of these I guess irregularities. You see quite frankly downright fraud. What happened in Georgia with those 4 people who were sending everyone home and then were scanning ballots after everyone left. I can't see any other reason for that. But essentially, I don't think there is a viable way to litigate a presidential loss in court. I mean, you have 60 days to do it. If you get busted for a drug offense, if you get like the Enron case was years, 6 months at least.
Right.
The whole Enron case, and that was much less complex than what happened in this election. I think that there's absolutely no way you can count on catching people who were involved or being able to discover the evidence required to make these lawsuits effective in 60 days. It's just not possible. So litigating elections is just not it's a non-starter going forward.
Isn't the issue though more so around the fact that there's no remedy that can be taken? So for instance, in some of these states, you can challenge the ballot and you can recount the ballot all you want. But the problem is that once the ballot is separated from the envelope that has the signature that may not be accurate, once they're separated, it doesn't matter how many times you recount that ballot.
Absolutely.
That ballot could be a fraudulent ballot. And in fact, as we know, and I'm not saying that this throws every election in this situation, but we know that after every election, you can go to the voter rolls and you can cross-reference it with death statistics, and you can see that dead people cast ballots. Now, usually that's a spouse or somebody in the household who just went ahead and sent it in or whatever, and it's usually irrelevant. But the fact is that it happens. We know it happens. It can be proven. But the problem is there's no remedy to it, because even if you said, we know this person voted, there's no way to go and claw back their ballot, because who they voted for is secret, as it should be, but there's no remedy. So the courts can't change the outcome. Even if the court was to say, okay, it doesn't look like the law was followed, aside from them literally throwing out the election results and asking for a new election to be held, I don't see what else they can really do.
And the same thing will happen again, especially when you have people that aren't following the rules, like Pennsylvania. They aren't following their own rules. And
right.
Even the Supreme Court said, okay, we see you didn't follow your own rules, but we're not going to do anything about it.
Well, I would think
the election has national implications.
Legislatures in this country are going to have to regain their authority. We have co-equal branches of government. So even though judges decide disputes, the legislatures make laws and the executives enforce it. So if you have executives that won't enforce the law, then the legislature needs to take back control. Then they need to do something, actually the Constitution gives them remedies in these circumstances, but they're not going to. I don't think they're going to do it. We'll see.
Well, someone who's being very quiet so far. I mean, Anibal, we were having this discussion right before the show started, and you have pretty much decided that it's best for us to just move on. The election was what it was. The Trump campaign lost the election fair and square, and we should just move on, right?
I feel that the Department of Justice and the FBI did their analysis and found no systemic national fraud in any sort. That is enough for me to be able to accept the elections. We don't live in a dictatorial, authoritarian country. We live in a democracy, a republic.
In a what?
We live in a democratic republic, and because of that, and seeing how it broke down in all those 5 states that show what happened and how Trump administration and the Trump campaign lost in those battleground states, I fully support the election results, and I feel that nothing will happen on January 6th, and that we are now witnessing a smooth transition of power that has happened every single time there has been a change.
Smooth?
It's pretty smooth.
So
I don't know about
didn't
smooth.
you say
It'll be
that
smooth in
Trump
the sense that
lost
nothing
the
will
election
happen
because of 100,000 votes in swing states?
Yes, I fully think that Trump...
So do you actually need widespread voter fraud in order to achieve 100,000 votes?
Nothing that has been said on this panel or by anyone else, and I've gone to the rallies. I've gone to Stop the Steal rallies. I've gone to all these
Nobody's
things.
questioning your support.
What I'm saying is there's been no evidence to prove that there is a widespread of 10 to 20,000 votes in some particular states. I can definitely see a few votes, 5 here, 20 there, 30 there. I can definitely see that, but I cannot see anything that comes to the foreground of saying that this election was stolen by the president.
Okay.
We are now making ourselves sound like the Democrats 4 years ago, with people screaming in the streets.
That was totally unfounded. That was the whole Trump-Russia thing, which is a complete pile of horseshit.
People telling the the individuals that were going to vote in the Electoral College to switch their votes for the good of the country, and you have it now being said now, and I don't believe that that's how it's. That's none of
switching votes based on nothing. This is switching votes based on something. I don't think it should happen necessarily.
If the FBI and the DOJ had something to show,
FBI had people like Peter Strzok in it. Are you kidding me?
Are you saying that there's absolute corruption?
Well, it's easy.
No,
not
it doesn't have to be
it's
absolute
easy.
corruption. 100,000 votes is one county's worth of people.
I agree, but I also have arguments of why we lost Georgia, why
did you
we
not
lost
see
Pennsylvania, and why we lost Arizona.
Did you not see in Minnesota how Ilhan Omar's people, or one of her cohorts, had people who were harvesting ballots from nursing homes, telling people they were from the election administration?
Do you think that she was able to harvest 300,000 votes?
She doesn't have to.
No, she
In
doesn't.
her district, she doesn't have to. But
Her district is also 17 plus Democrats.
Yeah, but everything little by little, it adds up.
Each swing state is enough to swing the entire
It
election.
adds up collectively, but again, Trump didn't lose the popular vote.
How many ballots?
Trump did lose the popular vote.
How many ballots can? Okay, popular vote isn't how the president decides.
I agree.
Okay. If you have two people for 3 months harvesting ballots, registering voters against their will, like these old folks' home, like happened in Minnesota, in each of these a few counties in each of these swing states, can that not make 100,000?
When was
votes?
the last time besides Trump we won Minnesota?
I'm not saying Minnesota. I'm saying that this happened in Minnesota, and it's 100% plausible that someone wasn't stupid enough to post their face on the internet while doing it in the other states.
I think we are making ourselves look absolutely ridiculous when it comes to this election cycle, and that we should be doing what we should have been doing in states like Florida and like Iowa that made sure and like Texas that made sure the president had a comfortable lead and was making sure that our voter logs were purged of dead people, making sure that
so we can get less votes than the Democrats did because they didn't purge theirs of dead people?
If first of all, any GOP organization in any state is allowed to look at the voter logs and is able to purge.
It's hard to get voter rolls cleaned up. It takes years. Even in like here in Hillsborough County, it can take over 4 years for someone to get purged from the voter rolls.
So I will say personally, while door knocking, I saw a lot of people on the voter rolls that were plausibly dead. Like a lot. Like probably, I don't know, 1%.
Well, I'm not suggesting that this throws an entire election, but you can literally do a search for addresses, or you can do a search where you query how many voters are at an address, and you will find addresses that have 15 voters there, or 20, or even 50. And then when you go and you look at the address, lo and behold, it's a warehouse. It's not a real address, or it's a post office box. I mean, give me a break. That stuff is easy to clean up, but the government has, especially Democratic-led governments, have no incentive whatsoever to do it. There are state laws that mandate certain things to happen, and nothing ever gets done.
Then it should
that's why I'm saying the
mandate of every GOP.
There needs to be penalties for this.
That.
There ought to be penalties for this.
But you can't get
and
shit
the legislature.
like here.
And anytime a legislature tries to do something, well, and anytime elected officials say, "Listen, election integrity is important. We need to pass these laws." What happens? Oh, you're trying to suppress the vote. Oh, make every vote count. Yeah, we want every vote to count. But it just needs to be legit.
Right.
And it's so loose. It's crazy. There are third world countries that are doing a better job at elections than we are.
I remember on a campaign that I worked on, it just so happens that there was an assisted living facility or nursing home facility in that part of the community that I was walking. And there must have been at least, I think, almost 24 votes of people who were registered to vote at that location. You're going to tell me somebody who's under hospice care, somebody who's under heavily medicated, you're going to tell me they're filling out their ballots? I think there needs to be even a process in place for situations like that, because I can assure you that there's nothing stopping the nurse, the caregiver, the male person from taking those ballots and filling it out for people without even them knowing. And who's going to verify? Who's going to come? You think they're going to be like, oh, hey, I didn't get my ballot. I didn't get my chance to vote in this election. It's the last thing they're thinking about.
The Democrats have been working for the last 4 years to ensure that they wouldn't lose Pennsylvania, to ensure they would take back
by changing the rules.
Again,
by changing the rules.
That was done.
By changing the rules, after COVID.
I'm not going to deny that is
and the
what
mail-in
happened,
the mail-in ballot
Texas should
initiative
not be dictating what Pennsylvania does with their rules. Again,
the mail-in ballot initiative nationally, I believe, was a huge part.
We could have lost Pennsylvania and still picked up some of the states that we won last time and still won.
I think the mail-in ballot initiative again was the perfect way to steal the election, it's just just ripe for fraud. And it's a big reason why Biden won the way he did.
Well,
the numbers, as Joe was going through before the show, and trust me, you don't want to get him started on that laundry list of facts and statistics.
I'm happy to point it out.
But the numbers just don't make any sense.
Well, can we go through a couple of them? I mean, not a lot. All
right, go for it.
Okay. Here, I'm going to hit on 5 different things here. First of all, there was 80 million votes, received, No incumbent president in 150 years has gained votes in their reelection, but still lost. Okay, that's number 1. Okay, number 2. Joe Biden won despite losing in 18 out of 19 bellwether counties. There are 19 counties in this country that represent, areas all over the country now. So it's diverse. And not in 60 years has a person won both Ohio and Florida and still lost the election. Okay? And not since John F. Kennedy has somebody not won those bellwether counties and gone on to win the election. Trump won those counties. Again, he wins 18 of the 19 counties that are bellwether counties in this country, and he doesn't just win them, he wins them by 16 points. That's landslide territory, okay? That's another one, okay? Joe Biden wins despite the fact that Democrats lost everywhere else in the country. There were 27 state house seats that were considered toss-ups going into Election Day. Republicans, if this New York seat if they ever get done counting votes in New York, that's absurd. Okay, Republicans are going to win 27 of 27 toss-ups, yet Trump loses. That doesn't make any sense. And last, no president in recent history, loses the presidential election if they win in their own primary by certain margins, No incumbent who has received 75% of their total primary vote when they go up for re-election. So that's the primaries that happen even though you have an incumbent president. They still have a Republican primary. The Democrats still have their primary, right? Anytime an incumbent president has gotten 75% or more of their primary voters, they've went on to win re-election. Trump got 94% of the vote in the primary and still loses. Guys, I don't have evidence in front of me of a crime that's occurred. All I'm saying is that this is an amazing, amazing election for someone to win, despite the fact that there's all these anomalies that all throughout history, some dating back 150 years, have never been done. Something doesn't make sense. It doesn't smell right. And when my neighbors told me...
A lot of things make sense.
When my neighbors told me that it was going to be a landslide, I didn't believe them. But when you look at some of these numbers and the fact that it was landslide victories for Trump in bellwether counties... I mean, it looks like it was a landslide.
Anibal, what part of it makes sense? What part of it makes sense?
We've never had a situation where where we've had an election during a pandemic in this size, where we've shut down the entire economy. What makes people vote is when they have money in their pockets. And right now, at the time of the election, there was almost 12 million people in unemployment, and right now we're at 10. So we've gained I think 200. We've gained a lot of new jobs. So those are 2 huge points that people keep on forgetting. Also, I think something that a lot of people forget is that Trump was one of his worst enemy. He motivated more people to go out and vote against him than to vote for him.
Do you believe on the whole, voters blame Trump for locking down the country and them losing their job? You think voters blame Trump for that?
I think the voting population was more concerned about the economic impact of what's happening at the moment.
Okay.
In November.
Well, I have another number for you.
Because there is a percentage of those that did not actually vote because of the pandemic.
I have another number.
They voted because they did not have money in their pockets.
Okay. About money. In President Trump's time in office, which if you really think about it is 3 years because your last year you're campaigning, right? During President Trump's time in office, real income amongst the American family went up $6,000. Now, I'm not saying that $6,000 completely changes people's lives, but when you consider the fact that is a family generating $500 more per month. I mean, that's significant.
When you
and
have
that's
double-digit
growth,
unemployment,
and
it
that's
doesn't matter.
growth that occurred over the course of 3 years.
You have double-digit
can't say-
unemployment. I'm sorry. That is a huge factor of why Trump did not win the election. Do I think he should be solely blamed for it?
Right.
No, absolutely not.
I guess
However,
my point
at the end
is
of
simply,
the day, the president is on the top of that ticket.
I guess
and
my
people
point,
are going to vote that way.
I guess my point is simply that there are a lot of voters that might have been in tough times, and I can appreciate that. But if you ask them, okay, how were things going prior to COVID? On the whole, most Americans would say great, because the numbers bear that out. And then if you asked them, well, you know, now that you're laid off and everything, does that make you not want to vote for Trump? I mean, come on, how many people are like, yeah, forget the fact that it was gangbusters when Trump was here, but now let me go ahead and fire him because of COVID? I mean, come on. I just don't see how most Americans come to that conclusion, but maybe I'm wrong.
Talk about what your numbers said. I think that your numbers can say all those things, and it is still possible for Biden to win the election despite all those things, but it's extremely unlikely.
They have to rewrite every political science book now and every book or strategy related to campaigning.
I don't think so. I think we go back
Sure,
to normality.
sit-
I honestly believe we go back to normality.
A candidate with money just needs to sit in their house, not do anything, blame it on COVID, all right, and then just trash the other candidate and you win. I mean, I guess that's how you get elected.
Do you think
now.
we'll have COVID in 2 years? We'll still be having the same.
Oh yeah.
The
Oh
thing
yeah.
is,
If
though,
it
do you think
benefit-
we'll have the same
because
rolling?
there's people.
Do you think we'll have
yeah,
the same
there's people
rolling?
making money. Yeah, absolutely. There's people making money off COVID. The media is making money off COVID. And keep in mind, the people you can just about, not everybody. Some people are. You know, some people might be hurting right now, but they're a principled person and they say, well, I think we need to continue the lockdowns because of vulnerabilities. But by and large, you can break the issue down of who supports lockdowns and who supports opening up by whether or not that person has a stable paycheck. People that need to go to work are saying, look, I can't kill myself over a survivability rate of 99.7%. I just can't do it, right? So those people want to go to work, and government workers and the privileged, right, people that get to sit at home and do Zoom and get to sit at home and telework and all that, I mean, those people are like, yeah, sure, lockdown. Why? Why not? Who wants to go back to the office when I can work in my PJs? I'm just saying that I think a lot of this is not driven by science, and I don't think a lot of it's driven even by politics, really. A lot of it's just driven by people's finances, but you better believe that as long as Walmart's making money, Home Depot and Lowe's, these guys are gangbusters right now, making a killing. Wall Street's making money. Government workers are making money. Government workers are not even having to go to work and they're getting paid. So why would you want to open up under those circumstances? Shut down Walmart. And if you're in California, shut down the strip clubs. And when that happens, I'll start taking you serious about shutting down churches and everything else.
Well, the one thing I think that nobody expected was that Elon Musk now is actually saying he's going to leave California. They said that he wasn't going to leave because he's got, basically such a large footprint there.
I mean, how does he pick up
but I mean, according to him, I mean, he's going to make plans to move, to start moving.
He's going to build.
He may move some operational things, maybe not production, but
he's officially moved out of California.
Right.
That already happened. Now what he's talking about is he's going to expand his Nevada and New Mexico operations.
Is he going to domicile the
Texas.
country? Is he saying he's going to domicile the company in Texas? Is that?
I don't think he's made that comment yet. That's a huge. First of all, I don't think he's allowed to make that decision as a publicly traded company. He'll have to have board approval, and then there'll be a vote for that to be done.
Yeah, but doesn't he have the board members? Yeah.
No, he has a very, very difficult board.
Does he really?
They've
Oh, well,
tried
that's
to
on
remove
him.
him twice now.
Jesus. So I think the last thing to say about this is like, all right, if this is the playbook that we're allowing to happen, all you have to do as either party is introduce some kind of crisis and screw up every kind of election rule you have, and screw up, allow the country to go into a frenzy or just to destroy your political enemy, via something that's happening in current events, and boom, you can win an election. So you can basically foobar the country into winning an election.
I think Democrats were prepared in a lot of big swing states, and they made sure that they got the vote out.
Well, one thing Republicans need to learn from, as far as what the Democrats did, was I remember when the article came out that was it was kind of making fun of the Democrats, saying that they weren't knocking any doors. Remember this? And they were saying Trump was knocking 1 million doors a week. And all of us kind of Politico people, we kind of looked at that and said, wow, that's crazy. Like, Trump's knocking 1 million doors, Biden's knocking none. Like, this is a losing strategy. But you know what the Democrats are doing? They were in their rooms filling out ballots. Calling voters and getting voters to turn in their ballots. They were sitting Joe Biden was locked up in the basement, so to speak. But you know what? The entire Democratic Party's apparatus, those volunteers and the workers, they were calling people, they were getting the ballots turned in, and ballots are votes. And in those states that they're allowed to do so, and maybe some others, they were doing everything. They were going and picking up the ballot. They were collecting ballots if that's legal. They were making sure that the ballots got turned in. And the fact is, ballots are votes. I appreciate the fact that we're in Georgia right now, knocking on doors and talking to voters, and that's great. Let's get everybody fired up. Let's get the base fired up, and let's get people out to vote. But given the fact that nothing's changed from an election law standpoint in Georgia, as was currently the situation a couple months ago, they're playing by the same rules. So the Republicans better be getting those ballots turned in, because ballots are votes and nothing else matters.
I think the strategy was to keep Trump talking, and Trump being the only one talking in the room pissed everyone off. I think he was the one that got himself not reelected.
Like I said, just campaign in your basement. Don't go anywhere. Don't say anything.
You won't have another.
Do
Trump.
no public appearances.
You won't have
and
another
just
Trump
blame
situation.
your opponent for everything, I guess.
I think Trump did himself in this whole situation.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and change the topic. We spent quite a bit on that one. And before we do so, I wanted to play this. I thought it was really clever. Hopefully, we can get the audio to go with it. Let's see. Hang tight. There we go. It's the vaccine arriving to our local healthcare facility. It is currently undefeated as it is in its rookie season. This COVID vaccine expected to change the industry right where it lies. COVID vaccine and its effectiveness coming to you now. I just wanted to do that. That's the only reason I wanted to
throw back to your sportscast.
I'm pretty.
Right.
Whoa! I see people not wearing masks. What's going on?
Where?
Somebody call the governor. I thought I saw somebody in that video not wearing a mask.
No, it's okay. We got the video. See, here we go. Here it comes once again, entering the arena. It's the COVID vaccine. It's the 2020 edition. Now, there are some rumors that there's a 2021 rookie in the wings that is already causing some trouble in the UK, but this 2020 rookie COVID vaccine may be the trick this needs to get over the coronavirus. All right, that was fun. Anyways, vaccine deployment, of course, in the news, and the people are already criticizing the fact that Congress, got their shots, and of course, every single healthcare worker in this country did not get a shot. And, they're trying to make politicizing even the vaccine, for goodness sakes. We've talked pretty expansively here about the vaccine and whether or not we would be willing to get it. I've said I don't see there's a point in getting it. I think so far Florida has managed this well. There's been very little criticism as to how the rollout has been for the vaccine deployment. Again, I mean, they're going to at-risk communities. They're going to first responders. I mean, is this one of those things where is there something here in the wings maybe that we're not seeing? I mean, is it going to be, some airlines are saying that you may have to have a vaccine record to get on a plane. Like, are there going to be issues like that we're not expecting that you guys are thinking is right around the corner with this vaccine?
Good luck with that one.
Yeah.
I think the most important story I've seen regarding the vaccine rollout was a CDC slideshow dictating how they're going to deploy the vaccine. And as opposed to just being logical, like, hey, we'll go the 90-year-olds first, then the 85-year-olds, then the 80-year-olds, or like, if you're black, you'll get it first. So you're basically neglecting the entire hierarchy that has been set up by medical professionals to be woke. And it's complete horseshit that a government agency that every American pays for is going to be discriminating based on race. It's disgusting.
Well, didn't they already pull that back? Because
they did.
Because even if you're trying to help people that you think are going to be underserved, if you're doing anything other than vaccinating on a age basis in descending order from oldest to youngest, then even if you're trying to help certain disadvantaged groups or whatever the definition is, you actually end up killing more. You end up with more people dying, some of which are from that same group.
Yeah.
So like it's wonderful that you're like, hey, there's a bunch of particular minority group who are working at Walmart or whatever, or working on any frontline job that comes in contact with a lot of people, retail or customer service of any kind. Okay, even if you said that's true and you tried to vaccinate that demographic in an equal manner as just elderly in general, unfortunately, if it's black or Hispanic or whatever, I know Native Americans have been talked about. The problem is that, okay, but there are black and Hispanic and Native American and other seniors who also would be, compromised by that. And so we just need to do it by age, and that's the way that you save the most lives.
So
well, not only that, the audacity, first of all, making this a racial thing.
Oh, 100% racist.
And also that the African American community, I would say more so than any other ethnicity, has an adversity to vaccination. Like they inherently have an aversion to getting vaccinated, or especially when it's coming from the government.
Yeah, but they have a legit. There's some people alive. There's some black people that are alive that can tell stories as to why.
Yeah, no.
So there's some legitimate, work that the government has to do.
Well,
to repair its reputation.
And right now, the American people, about 52% of the country, does not feel that they're going to take.
Really?
Vaccine.
It's 52%?
Right now, it's a little bit more than 50%, which
that's a problem. That's kind of a problem. Because
but why would they? I mean, when you know that, okay, you probably already had it, and if you haven't had it, you still have a very small chance of dying from it. And even if you do get it, you still may get it again or for the first time anyways, just like the flu vaccine. So, what's the point?
That's what I don't understand. Yeah, what I don't understand about this is that, okay, so, and by the way, there was a study published in JAMA, okay, one of the respected, medical journals, that did say that minorities are not susceptible. Their outcomes, they don't die at any higher rate with COVID than whites do. Okay,
you need to share that.
In fact, it may be a little bit less. No, but here's the difference: they do get infected at a higher rate. Okay, just like people in urban areas get affected at a higher rate than people that live in rural areas, and that's why you're seeing states like Texas, who, some of these states are just now kind of, getting more and more infections, but that's because you have very large areas where it's not very densely populated.
Yeah, so right now with the CDC and the ACIP, I think they did retract the racial component when it came to the rollout, and those that are in the 1B category are the frontline essential workers and those that are 75 and older.
I think the fact that was implemented in the first place shows some serious problems with that agency.
I think
that's a serious screw up. We have laws.
No, it's not a screw up. I mean, that was intentional.
It's intentional.
We have laws about discriminating by race in this country. We've had them for a long time. We fought a long time to have racial equality.
I think it would be interesting if somebody sued. I think it would be interesting if there was like a senior citizen who supposedly couldn't get a vaccine and someone else that was younger but just happened to be a minority. I think it'd be interesting to see, what a lawsuit would do there, because
the categories of them being able to get the
because I think they would be able to sue for discrimination because the government can't discriminate on the basis of race, and they clearly would be doing so. But it's in their policy, which is what's odd about that.
Well, we don't have enough vaccines yet to get into the 1B category. At the moment, for the 1A category, it's about 24 million Americans.
Well,
I don't think we are up there yet.
There's like 9 million that got released today, total.
Correct. That's what I'm saying.
Like 9 million got shipped.
We don't have enough produced yet.
That's a lot.
Moderna got released this week that they're going through right now. P&J are going to probably release later on in January. We have more vaccines going in. I love how people were upset that the presidency didn't get more Pfizer vaccines, because I think there was a bid for another 100 million vaccines. However, the Pfizer vaccine, it sucks in regards to you have to have 2 shots. They have to be, I think, 30 days apart from each other. So and also you have to be under negative 92 degrees that the whole time, which is very difficult to do in rural. So which is why the U.S. government purchase more Moderna because you can keep that at 0 and you only need really
Yeah,
one
but
shot.
it let the media do a negative
yeah.
Trump article. They were able to say, "Oh, he had a chance at another 100 million. He turned it down."
I
you know,
even
whatever.
saw Tampa
I mean,
Bay Times talking crap
yeah.
about Trump for not getting the vaccine after he already had the virus. Like, what the hell? Like, do you take yourself seriously anymore? Like,
Well, here's where I'm trying to understand where this is going, right? So, all right, so you've got tens of millions, maybe 100 million people that have already been infected. All right, we're not going to know any of this until after the fact, till they figure it all out. So you got, because we don't have to do antibody tests and all that to figure all that out. So you've got all the people that are already infected, but then they say, oh well, but it doesn't confer immunity. Oh, okay, fine, all right, so that didn't work. Okay, so then you got to take a vaccine. All right, and it's a certain percentage effective. Okay, fine, and after you take it, you can still get it again. Okay, fine. All right. Well, and it's mutating, and so therefore, and you're still gonna have to wear masks, and we're still gonna have to do this, and it's like, okay, hold on a second.
That's what blew everyone's
it's like,
mind.
well, time out. It's like, well, time out. Okay. So what you're saying is that basically nothing is going to work, and all we're doing is mitigating, which is still important, but you're saying it's never going to end. Well, if that's the case, then I mean,
F it.
like it's time to just start, hey, take the vaccine, do the best you can. Time to just move on. Then you can't live like this forever.
get the vaccine if you're worried. Let everyone else do their thing.
And I know as a businessman, I had a conversation with a business the other day, and their excuse for not getting something done was COVID. And I'm gonna tell you what I told them. I said, listen, we are 11 months in. This has been going on for a year. If you are a business and you haven't adjusted your supply chain and adjusted your operations for COVID, I don't want to hear it. Okay, no more excuses.
We have, and again, some states have learned to continue to operate and be able to follow CDC guidance.
And notably, the states that are open and don't have as stringent rules are having relatively the same infectious rate and things like that as those states that have severe lockdowns like California.
How on earth is New York and California blowing up again?
Completely locked down.
And completely
Hold on,
locked
but
down?
wait, aren't they woke and they use masks all the time and they do everything right because they have a Democrat governor?
Evidently, that's what I was under the impression, but people can still go to the French Laundry and eat $1,000 menus. So I have no idea what's going on in those parts of the world. I will say this, though. The reinfection rate is so small. I think it's less than 50 people around the world has been
Sure about that?
reinfected.
Well, that's just a media
I'm pretty
talking
sure
point. They
there's
say things like this just to get people to be worried and to keep the lockdowns perpetuated. That's all they care about. They want fear. They want lockdowns. They want to be able to utilize this for whatever political mud they can sling.
Correct. I think it's something that people are going to keep on talking about, and eventually the American people in those, I don't know, actually no, I have no idea when the people in New York and California and other big states like that are going to revolt. I mean, you do have the recall ballot initiative in California to get rid of
That's not going to do anything.
They're already halfway there.
Human beings have to
And
be
they've done
able.
it before.
Human beings will, whether you want them to or not, human beings will establish a sense of normalcy wherever they live. Okay, and this is proven to me because of having been a soldier deployed. Even when you're deployed to a combat zone, and even when you know that in the morning at somewhere between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. that you're going to probably receive mortars and rockets. Okay, you can't live in fear and be like, oh, I better not go to sleep. I better be ready to hit the bunker. I mean, at some point in time, you're just like, you know what? I'm in a combat zone. I have certain things I can do. I can wear certain things. I can train. I can be prepared. I can understand the environment I'm in. I can know where I'm going. I can understand the threat areas versus other areas that are as not. I can understand data. Okay. And I can make decisions based on that and be as safe as I can be. But at some point in time, there's just only so much you can do to mitigate risk. And I think as much as there's all this back and forth and bickering, I really think a lot of it's misplaced. I think most Americans are actually doing the best they can. Everywhere I go, I see people wearing masks.
I agree.
I see people.
I know what you're saying.
There's
but
a lot of
I've
stuff.
seen a lot of people.
Okay, there's a
not
lot
wear
of
their
stuff you
masks.
see that's vocal. A lot of people are vocal because they're tired of it. But I think by and large, when you go out and about and you just look around, most people are probably washing their hands for a little bit longer. I know I have been. And they're wearing their masks.
Yeah.
And I think in general, people are trying to do the smart thing. But if
Well-
you never let up, people are going to start saying, screw this. I can't always live like I'm going to die.
When your leaders are not following their own rules
Well,
is when
there's
people
that
get
too,
even
yeah.
more upset.
Yeah.
And that's why California's so upset. That's why New York is so upset.
What was he at, a fundraising dinner or something?
I've been to North Cuba and no one was wearing a mask when I visited Miami.
Well,
And
here's
so-
what I expected. I expected like Governor Newsom when he got seen at that restaurant. I guess they were at a fancy restaurant. I don't know if it was family or political
For his
people.
birthday, and it was both.
Okay. So why don't they come out? I'm assuming this is true. Why don't they come out? I expect them to come out and say, this was my family. We've all been tested. I'm the governor, so people that come in contact with me get tested, and everything was followed in protocol, blah, blah, blah.
They just said, sorry, I got caught. I
think he
you would think
apologized.
they would say that, but they don't. Whether it's Fauci at the ball game or whether it's Burks or whether it's or Bricks or whatever her name is, or whether it's Newsom, these people, they get busted, not following protocols, and then they don't even say anything. They're like, oh, whoops, sorry,
It just goes to show they don't actually believe the shit they're putting down.
Exactly.
Like even
They don't believe it.
Pelosi could have said, hey, listen, the salon did open for me. They told me that I could come. They told me that everybody there was, that it was basically cleared out and I was going to be the only one in the room at that time or whatever, and all these other protocols. They told me I didn't have to because they met all these other protocols. But they don't even say that. They just come out and they're like all grumpy, like, oh, because they got busted.
Exactly.
Let's do something real quick. I want to go ahead and check in with one of the
Oh my gosh,
frontline healthcare workers
Real
who
quick,
actually received the vaccine.
Cuomo just got caught eating in a restaurant in New York City.
Nice, love it.
Fine.
Hang on that.
Thank you, Laura.
Hold on. Let's see. Frontline worker here, Nurse Cratchit or Ratchet. Sorry.
She's a
Let's
nice
see.
woman.
Yeah, seems to be doing all right. Only a little bit. Oh, hold on. Got a little.
Oh.
What's wrong?
Wait a minute. Didn't she just get her vaccine? What's the
Hangover?
problem?
Let's. All right. Well,
Feeling a little-
it's a little woozy.
And
hold on.
She's holding it together.
Uh-oh.
She's and she is off camera. She walking?
Wait. Oh,
and she's out.
that does not look good for that COVID vaccine.
The problem is they took the
Can you imagine
cafeteria away.
Can you imagine the people at the pharmaceutical company like just watching that like
In slow mo.
Go
this
viral.
In slow mo.
This is why. So to me, I understand it's just a nurse getting up and making a statement, and that's fine and all right. Nothing. We're just joking around about her, obviously. But
Allegedly.
But here's the thing, though. When you mix these hospitals and these healthcare providers are getting rather political, and they're becoming very public, and they're wanting to do all these PR stunts, and they're trying to do all this stuff, and they're wading into politics. And when you mix politics with science, you get politics. And what happened here is you've got some PR person thinking, oh, this will be so cool. We'll have one of our nurses go out and get a statement and yada yada, not thinking about the fact that after you give blood or get a shot or
that's
anything,
very true.
you should sit down and chill for a second, have a cracker, right? Drink
Yeah.
your little Gatorade.
20,
and
30,
just make
40
sure you're
minutes.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
you just make sure you're cool. That's all.
somebody wanted that PR moment.
They wanted the
That's
PR
what
moment,
that was.
and
now
and
they
they
got
made her
it.
go back out. Well, and she went back out and gave like a full-blown interview with a doctor where the media was like, now what happened? And she goes into this lengthy explanation about, this effect that happens to her.
Said
and
she fainted 6 times
in the last 6 months.
weeks.
And I was like, no, I think it was 6 months, but I was like,
said
wait a minute.
weeks.
But then why
It was
would you
weeks?
have her?
You sure?
But
I
then
thought
why
it
would
was
you have
6
her as your?
Yeah,
that's why
I'm like,
doesn't
whoa,
make
whoa.
any sense.
I'm like, whoa. So you faint at
documented
you're wait a minute. You're a critical care nurse and you faint at the slightest thing. Wait, I don't know what now.
she doesn't
The
like
weirdest
blood. She
part
doesn't
for
like
me
blood.
is you had this happen at every major hospital across the entire country. It was like a propaganda. What is the one I'm looking
you
for?
want people to have confidence to take the vaccine.
But did every hospital in every major city have to do this?
Yes, because every hospital in every large metropolitan area has their own local affiliated news agencies.
I
and
think it
everyone wanted to
was
do it.
weird, dude, to see all these videos the exact same format.
Because it's
someone
all
sitting in a chair getting an
because it's all
injection. That
coming
was
out at
weird
the
to
same
me.
time. I
Well,
get
they're
what you're
trying to
saying.
they're trying to set the narrative that you
Yes.
have nothing to worry about. Everybody
Right.
just get
Which
the
is
vaccine.
true. It's
That's
still
fine.
technically
Which
true.
is fine.
Am I going to to get it? No.
I just think
if you
there's
are over the age of 75 and you're considered
Why-
a
you
frontline
don't wanna
worker,
get it? Why
take
not?
it.
You're not getting it?
When's
I
the
don't
last
think
time
I don't
you
think I
saw-
should take it. Actually,
When's the last time you saw this kind of thing happen with like a cancer screening or something like that?
when
though?
was the last time there was a global pandemic?
Yeah, well, it's
at this level.
yeah, well, it's new.
Cancer
It's new.
deaths versus COVID deaths.
Oh my
No,
gosh.
it's new. I mean, it's a
crazy.
news
This is
story.
a new thing.
No, it's a news story. It's a news story. Come on, I mean. I understand that.
Anyways,
You can save more lives with other things.
I just think that it's funny when people wade into territory that they don't understand, and I think a lot of professional political people understand that. Hey, you never put the candidate in a circumstance to fail like that, right? And they put that nurse in a circumstance to fail,
right.
and I don't blame her one bit. It's it's actually not uncommon for someone
it's not uncommon at
to
all.
pass out or to feel faint. That's not a big deal. My wife has to like sit down when she gets a shot or whatever because she's thin as a rail, and whatever. And I mean, hey, it happens to the best of us. I've seen a number of people pass out giving blood and stuff like that. I mean,
So
it
right now,
happens.
with the essential workers in the United States, there's 87 million people considered essential workers. The frontline essential
Wow,
workers, they're
87
dividing that in half actually. So 30 million people will be able to get the vaccine ahead of the general population, and those are first responders, educators, food manufacturer, U.S. Postal Service, and then grocery workers. And then the split of that is about 57 million who will not be able to get it considered as an essential worker, and they're much further down in the list.
Man, that's messed up. Grandma's
still
got
stupid.
So grandma's got to go get a job at Publix so she can get a vaccine right now.
Grandma will be able to get it the same time that a frontline worker gets it.
All right,
if
so
grandma's 75 or older.
If you're 65 and in generally good health, you can get the vaccine right now. Ahead of
if you're in a long-term care facility.
I saw
that's not
a
generally
chart
good
today
health.
that showed the COVID death preventions by starting at a certain age group and working downwards, and you have 90% less
Yes.
deaths if you go by age and by
Of course. That only makes
preconditions.
sense.
It's crazy.
First, as opposed to
So what's going to be the
you're
excuse for
cashier,
schools?
You're
so
20 years old.
So what's
at
the school
Publix.
system excuse going to be? What's
Well,
going to because
for
they're
teachers or for
yeah.
kids?
What's the school system's excuse going to be for shutting down or staying shut down? Brick and mortar.
I think they're
for
going to
not-
start requiring the vaccine, just like they require other vaccines. For you to
your
enroll
shot
your
record.
kid.
Yeah.
That's technically not the case. You can still go to school and not have to take all the vaccines.
Yeah, you got to do the religious exemption. You got to go through all the paperwork.
Or for ethical
but
reasons, yeah.
But at the end of the day, I mean, they're just going to add it to the list, and I would say the majority of parents are not going to push back. And
I think majority of parents shouldn't push back either, but I don't feel that we should push for a mandate of any kind. We kind of tiptoed around it in regards to the airlines requiring it. Now, they are requiring it from Great Britain. Those that are flying out of Great Britain into the United States, they're going to have to start taking tests, which is different because you're leaving one country coming here, and a lot of time you're not an American citizen.
And UK just restricted travel because they have this virus
morphed.
They have the mutation of a
Of
virus
course, it
over
was
there.
the
That they're,
UK. Why wouldn't
they're-
it be any other place?
that's still
But
racist.
they think it's been
still
oral
xenophobic.
hygiene.
Still
Racist.
misogynist. It's still xenophobic
And
somehow. I don't know
and
how.
the only
I don't even
reason
know
why
what that
they're
means.
saying that the UK figured it out ahead of time because they think it's been happening since September that they've had this genetic morphication.
That's
was
great.
because the majority of those individuals that study infectious diseases actually live in the city of London, and they've been watching this more. So its odds are it's been around for a while. It's
All right,
already
let's
been around
check back in at the Tampa General Hospital as it brings in its latest shipment of the COVID vaccine, the 2020 edition, the rookie making its debut nationally. Will it have the effect that everyone is hoping? We'll see more from Tampa General Hospital and the COVID vaccine.
Comment section is telling us to move on.
I know. All right. So our next topic is the stimulus package, and unfortunately not as fun as it sounds. And most people are actually, somebody sent me the Chevy Chase moment when he gets the Jelly of the Month Club check for a bonus. I mean, that's pretty much what people are feeling like. I mean, really, $600. It won't cover your rent. Because I remember saying about the first stimulus, like, all right, well, that'll cover probably the average person's 1 month's rent, right? Decent number of money, national average, give it what you will, right?
And we were supposed to open up in 30 days and then 40,
Yeah.
or 15, then 30, then 45. So the idea
Right.
was, okay, so we'll all go back to normal.
6 months later, and with a smaller deal that Nancy Pelosi, actually Nancy Pelosi rejected the bigger deal, now got a smaller deal, went for it because of the election's not on the line, and now people are getting stuck with a $600 check, and it's not coming before the holidays.
Well, it's
so it's not going to go towards Christmas spending, and again, I mean, is it really doing anything at this point? I mean, it's a drop in the bucket, really.
So in regards to that particular point that we're talking about, the current relief package is about $900 billion. It's a ridiculous sum of money. $300 billion will be going to the PPP grant situation. 57 of that will be going to additional corona testing. 82 billion will be going to schools, and we go down the line. I think it was like 150 billion will be going towards that $600 per adult individual making less than 75,000, with another 600,000 or $600 for every dependent. So technically, a family of 4 would receive a $2,400 check, which is actually significant for paying the rent and paying bills.
That
and maybe
does
getting
change
college.
the
I need to
game.
have some more
But
kids.
in all honesty, why are we
You
not?
have like
I need
10
to have.
kids.
I need to have some more kids.
Don't you have like
this,
7?
Why is this not targeting people who are unemployed? Why is everyone getting this? I haven't been unemployed this entire time. I don't know about you guys, but you guys seem to have kept busy. I mean, why would you need to get that?
Am I gonna turn it away? No.
I would. I was
But
in
it
the
doesn't
events.
make any
I would. I was
sense.
in the events industry. I couldn't get the first check, and I'm probably not going to be able to get this check. I was in the events industry, and I honestly spent about most of those 5 months barely working. I mean, I was picking up little odd projects here and there,
Wasn't
but I
there a
spent
way?
most of
Wasn't
those.
there a way for you to claim it? Wasn't there some way to? Because I remember the problem people were having was there's all these people out there that don't file tax returns.
1099s,
Yeah,
Right.
they don't file, or there's people that
There
don't
was
file
a
tax
means for
returns.
non-filers.
Yeah, wasn't there? Yeah. So
I don't know.
people-
And part of it
wasn't
was just
mean-
but you still got it though, didn't you?
No.
So
never got
Really?
I see what you're
So
saying.
going-
but
but yeah, go back
it
to your
goes
point.
against the entire spirit of this. We're helping
Yeah, it's a
people
good
that are
point.
hurting,
Yeah.
and you're giving this. So that our unemployment right now is like what, like 7%? Or
Unemployment is still above 10%.
okay, whatever it is. Okay, so why are we giving 90% of the population this stimulus for no reason? It doesn't make any sense.
Oh, no.
Why not focus it where it needs to go? It's economics 101.
I think we're missing the whole argument. Wait, I completely agree with what you're saying. However, the whole push, Nancy Pelosi could have got a $2 trillion deal.
the deal that
2
Trump
months
offered.
ago.
Yeah, Trump offered a $2
The only
trillion
reason why she's
deal.
allowing it now is because she's getting so
Yep.
much pressure
Yep.
from her people and from the House. That's what's happening. She didn't want a win for the Trump administration, which I think if this would have passed a month before the election, I think we would have Trump as the president, another 4 years of Trump. I will say this: I think it's ridiculous that only 10%, a little bit over 10% of what the relief bill will be actually going to American citizens' pockets. Now the Treasury Secretary did say that they are planning funds to be released as early as next week. So that should be some relief for some people. But I agree. I don't know why Jonathan hasn't got his check yet, but that should be a conversation.
I mean, PPP funding, does.
It's going to people.
It does go to people.
So does
I mean,
the check
the
going deposited to your account.
the problem, and this is just how government works, right? They're gonna shut down a business and then offer you money to pay your people so that they are kind of like still on payroll, so they can come back. But what it presupposes is that you're gonna get to open up in roughly the next 2 months.
Well, the airlines is a
And
perfect example.
so they gave, let's say a restaurant as an example. They give a restaurant PPP funding, say, okay, now you can keep your people on payroll, continue to pay your cooks, continue to pay everybody regardless of what your revenue is, right? Because you're basically shut down. Okay, well then 2.5 months go by and you're still shut down, and now that's it. So all the government did was delay the inevitable. So if you're going to do PPP funding, you really have to tie it to the fact that in 2.5 months from then, the employer's going to be able to go back to meaningful operations and revenue generation, because if you're not generating revenue, what are you going to do? Offer PPP every month? I mean, are you just going to pay everybody?
I honestly
mean,
think that's what's going to happen. I would not be surprised if we get at least 2 or 3 more relief bills in the next year, which is freaking me out a little bit.
I had people that it worked as designed, okay? Because of the fear of COVID, not COVID, the fear of COVID, caused us to lose a lot of business, right? People just fearful of having someone else in their home. And even though these are seniors that needed the help, they were more scared of their caregiver than they were of degenerating themselves. So we lost a lot of business. Okay, I had all these employees that were going to be out of work. We got PPP funding. We paid people what they were making previous to COVID. Okay, they all continue to receive paychecks, and then at some point in time, as things picked back up and people needed people, we still had those employees on the books, and we were able to go right back to work. Yeah. But that's the way it's supposed to work. But if you continue to be locked, I'm not locked down. It's just that fear, caused the business to drop off. But if I was running a restaurant, there'd be no point in doing the PPP.
Yeah. Hang on one second, guys. I want to try something really quick. Hang tight, everybody. All right, let's see if. All right, for those of you asking, actually, that beautiful hat that you see there displayed in front of Mr. Anibal David Cabrera is a We the People hat from Branded Bills, and that is not a paid endorsement or any kind of sponsorship. Although we are working on some of that stuff, I'm pretty excited about that. But are
they in Brandon?
No, it's called Branded Bill. Yeah, brandedbills.com. It's actually my favorite hat of all the ones that they make, but they make a really cool line of not only state-themed hat, but also patriotic-themed hats. And
your favorite hat that you left at my house, but whatever.
I need a Florida one.
Because I was having a good time, man. It's like that sort of thing. It's like leaving your wallet, at the nightclub.
That happens all the time.
The credit card. It's
I am still of the opinion that the government should not be allowed to tell your business they cannot do what they normally do and just pay people to stay home. The economic, the business repercussions, there's so much that's going to happen because of what we're doing right now that is going to be really bad for the economy. If you're thinking 2008 was going to be bad, I think it's going to be worse when this comes home to roost. Do you think they're going to inflate their way out of this?
Do I think they're going to inflate the way out of this? I think what's going to occur is, and I do believe this, I think what's going to occur is they're going to loosen the bankruptcy restrictions, and they're going to allow individuals and businesses to be able to declare bankruptcy and be able to wipe those funds off the board automatically. I feel that the most recent stress test that occurred almost 72 hours ago, which was released, and the banks were all passed with flying colors. I personally read the reports to see if it was legitimate or not, and they really did a crazy stress test, and so they were able to pass it. So there's a lot of liquidity about to happen. This morning, the banks were given the authority from the Fed to start doing buybacks and everything else. That shows that a lot of cash is going to come off the sidelines, start pushed back into the economy and into the market. I don't know. To answer your question, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I want to say
it's
that
it's a habit.
If now that we have the vaccine, it is in 3 months, it's going to be very difficult for these governors and these local and these officials in the Hillsborough County Commission to be pushing regulation, but we can talk about that later, and pushing these ridiculous mask requirements and shutting down businesses when there's no longer a need for that. Because again, once everyone over the age of 75 or 65 or that has a precondition gets a vaccine or is put away somehow.
Yeah, but you could also say the same thing about these stimulus.
The mortality numbers drop so significant that it will no longer be an issue, and I think it's going to push back a lot of people. I don't want there to be another stimulus package after this one. I get why they're doing this, because the eviction moratorium is ending, and they needed to push that back.
Yeah, but see, what I can tell you is going to happen is under a Biden administration, they're going to use this as a tool to fund all this nonsense and just crap that they've been wanting to fund for years.
Not if they don't get the Senate.
They're going to put it under the guise of the stimulus package. Yeah, but the Senate is, it's too close to call.
You can put political pressure on people enough to the point where it looks optically bad. When people are calling for a stimulus package, and you have
especially under COVID,
this giant pork-laden bill, they're like, oh, well, the Republicans won't let it pass. So you should vote them out.
Yeah.
Okay, so then Republicans cave to that stuff. They do it every time.
So would you rather,
especially when it's a health
and
pandemic,
lose power completely? The reason why this isn't a $3 trillion
Well, no, but at some point
budget,
you got to draw. No, wait a second. That's a horrible premise. You can't go and to say that it's justifiable to fall on your principles, to give way to your principles simply because it's not politically expedient to do so. Then why elect people based on certain principles if they're just going to go up there and vote for everything?
A lot of Republicans want stimulus. A lot of Republicans wanted the stimulus. I think the number was like 72% of Americans wanted another stimulus package.
I think when you just say stimulus, you have to explain really what that means.
Everyone wants free money,
and they also want free college, and they also want free health care, and of course, when you put the word "free" in front of it, of course they're going to want that.
That's actually what's so enticing about socialism. That's why even though failed policies like socialism and communism, I mean, we have plenty of history to show how it's a failure. It continues to be popular because of the promise of something for free. The idea that you're actually going to get something and not have to do anything for it. I mean, it's just too enticing for human beings.
When our government and people who are supposed to be our intellectual betters propagate this as a solution to our problems, it's a severe issue. I mean, so economic lesson of the day, when they inflate to cover deficits made by the COVID relief funds, your savings are worth whatever percent less that they inflated. So if they increase the volume of U.S. cash by 10%, guess what? Your savings are worth 10% less, not now, but in the next few months or at some point in the future. So enjoy that in your retirement.
I was talking to Jeffrey about this stimulus bill earlier today, and he brought up an interesting point. He was like, basically, it's two things. One, they're showing you that they don't give a crap about us peasants, number one, and number two, maybe it's actually a sign of weakness in Congress. Maybe Congress is actually concerned about inflation, and maybe that's what's generating the $600 number, because they're actually getting nervous about what's going to happen and fearful of the economic impact of potentially some massive inflation occurring. Think about what would happen to Joe Biden economy if all of a sudden mortgage rates double. Not even something astronomical. I mean, mortgage rates are like somewhere between 2.5%, 3.5%.
2 to 3%.
I mean, okay, but my first house, I paid 6.5% when I first signed the deal.
My parents was 16%.
So the
first bought.
So imagine if mortgage rates just went back to something that was considered normal.
Historical.
Yeah, that was considered historical, like 6%. I mean, what would happen to home sales? Crater. Okay, and then if everything else, what would happen? When new car sales tank, when home sales tank, when people can't get money, when the SBA has to tighten up, when the banks are tightening up lending to small businesses, when big businesses credit facilities are done. I mean, what's going to happen then? You're going to have a massive contraction of the economy. And I think they may be scared of that.
I don't think they're scared of it, but I don't think what you're saying is going to happen either. I do not see a huge cratering or a contraction of the economy anytime soon.
The real estate industry is was on the verge. Now, I think what's pacified it has been coronavirus and people not moving or not wanting to move in the middle of a pandemic.
I think
other than the states from like New York and California.
That's what I was going to say.
Like
I think the economies and
I think we're still in a real estate bubble.
A lot of blue states and states like Florida and Texas are gaining a lot of the popularity. And
Jonny, you're saying that the fact that people aren't buying and selling has actually helped the bubble?
Absolutely. It's exacerbated the real estate bubble because there's a lack of inventory.
Oh,
and that lack of inventory has driven prices up.
Right, yeah. People looking to buy homes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I especially having the rates at record levels.
Yeah.
And they've been at record levels for so long. That's not sustainable. At some point, and they've already said, now they're shooting for 2003, I think, when they say that they're probably going to raise the interest rates, which is going to be, again, right in the middle of a Biden administration. But again, us keeping the rates as long as we have at near zero, or around 2%, let's say, at the retail level, is going to create a bubble at some point.
And that's the problem.
I think we're just postponing it because of coronavirus.
The problem with what they did with interest rates to begin with is that now there's nowhere left to go. I mean, they can't. There's nothing else they can do.
The Federal Reserve has a lot more bullets in its chambers that we were able to still push push comes to shove.
It shouldn't.
I don't think there's going to be huge economic devaluation of any kind, knowing how the rest of the world is dealing with it at the moment. Billions and billions of dollars, almost $1 trillion will be liquidated out of the world into the U.S. coffers because of it. There's an extra 10 million individual investors coming out of the woodworks and investing in the U.S. market, and that is something that has not happened in a generation.
How does a company like Lowe's, Home Depot, and Walmart, who right now are they're benefiting huge because of the fact that you're not allowed, people aren't going to work, or they're not leaving their home really, or how are those companies that are allowed to stay open and benefit from the lockdowns, how are they going to do better in the stock market when things really open up and go back to normal and money gets spread out amongst all these other retailers? I don't see how they have anywhere to go but down.
I mean, we've
building more stores.
Lost 11,000 retail spaces in the last 4 or 5 months now. I think that needed to happen. We all knew that was happening. Malls were dying.
Yeah,
it just again a lot of things just accelerated the last 6 months. And something that people don't talk about is that technically a household debt ratio to income has decreased.
Right.
Because the amount of excess spending
that
people have. I know. That's crazy that the income to debt ratio has decreased for millions of people because their spending has decreased. But that's what I'm saying. They're spending their money on paying down debt than going out and eating at Mickey D's.
Right.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into our final topic of the day. Not going to spend a whole lot of time on it because we're already running over. But thank you so much for watching The Yard Sign, the most important relevant podcast in politics. Again, don't forget to sign up for the audio version of our podcast on any of the major podcasting platforms: Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon, and Audible. And we've got some exciting news for you coming soon for 2021. But thanks again, Joe Wicker, VerKuilen, and Anibal Cabrera on the show today. We're going to wrap it up with local COVID restrictions. We're seeing how, especially here, Hillsborough County, wanting to enforce and double down. I mean, people are making footloose references because you got one county commissioner who actually wants to ban dancing and standing around at bars. And again, our numbers, especially in comparison to similarly sized states, show that what we're doing is working. It's like, why mess with it if it's working? And of course, Governor DeSantis has said that he is going to get in the way of any local government that tries to shut down a business because of COVID restrictions. And so, I mean, is this going to be a big payday for the lawyers, or I mean, are these just basically false or empty threats by the local governments?
If DeSantis is promising to keep these governments from shutting your business down, but you're only allowed to have one customer, what the hell is the use of the order? In my opinion, when you have people like, all right, so you're not allowed to use dance floors to stand at and eat or drink anymore, even if you're 6 feet away, but the government's not allowing it anymore anyway. So where's the teeth in this order that DeSantis issued a few months ago?
This is why government is so terrible at making decisions when it comes to really your health and safety. I know people look to the government to make decisions like that, but that's why they're terrible, and the market does a much better job. For instance, so you're going to prevent people from being on a dance floor, but all you're going to really do is push those people closer together. You're just going to push them closer together.
Right.
So if there was going to be, spread due to close contact, you're just making it worse. I mean, it's like the government trying to make decisions that are in your best efforts of citizenry. It's like whack-a-mole, that game whack-a-mole. It's like, we don't want you to do this. Boom.
The law
and then the little thing pops up on the other side. Well, wait a minute. You weren't supposed to do that. Pop. And it pops up over here. Like, people are going to do what they're going to do. And you can shut them. You can shut it all down. Next thing you know, we're just going to have bars popping up at people's houses, which is probably already happened. I'm just not, I guess, invited and know about it. But I mean, that's what the barbers did. The barbers said, "Oh, okay, I can't cut hair. I can't cut hair in person. Cool, I got my customer list." And what they do, they just called all their customers. "Hey, bro, you want me to come over? Yeah, hit me with an extra $5-10."
I took
and
full
they just
advantage.
made a killing.
I took full advantage.
And now
of that.
they're making cash, not paying rent.
Right.
Making cash,
doing
not reporting
calls.
any of it, making house calls, not reporting any of it. You can't stop people from doing business.
Did you know that if you put a table on a dance floor, COVID can't get you anymore?
Right.
Right. Well, just now how the plexiglass, is stops all the coronavirus stuff now.
Yeah.
If you're sitting next to, a family that might
The
have
laws of pneumatics stop existing once you put plexiglass in a room. You know that.
I love the jail analogy.
or you're above 3 feet.
I love the jail analogy. Yeah.
If you're sitting, you can't catch coronavirus.
Yeah,
but the minute you stand up,
Yeah.
you're totally susceptible to getting the coronavirus.
Danger.
I love the jail analogy, right? If you can't keep drugs and alcohol out of jail, how do you think you can, lock someone else down from doing something like it's just not going to happen.
I am loving the warehouse district raves. Those are becoming a lot more fun now that we don't have any of the restrictions than before. But I will say,
there's raves.
You're the worst speakeasy patron I've ever.
I didn't say where they were.
There's COVID raves or something. How is that? I mean, I'm not interested in going to a rave.
I will say this. I think
no black lights.
I think what's happening right now in the county commission is absolutely ridiculous. I think they've gone far and before. They're just trying to find something.
Politicians just want to do something.
So weird.
They can't stand the idea that maybe the answer is to do nothing. They can't stand that.
Exactly.
They hate
Exactly
that.
right.
They always feel like they have to be doing something. It's like, no, maybe just do nothing.
Right. Do nothing.
What about that?
And
That's
now
right.
we're going to see a constant 6-2 vote because there are only 2 Republican votes left on the county commission.
They just want to.
Good job, Hillsborough.
They want to be able to say that they did something, even if they know that thing is not enforceable and won't have any measurable impact. they can at least say on their mail piece, "I did something."
So before the governor's order,
Because it'll end up on a mail piece or on a commercial.
It's all about the mail
They were
pieces.
citating individuals in the businesses. Now, because of what the governor said, they're having to go to the business itself and citate the business. So I think what the governor is going to have to do is
the business can't pay the fine. But there's no fine.
Yes, there is.
Right?
There is a
What's the
monetary
fine?
value.
But you can fight it in the
No,
court.
but the governor. I'm not a
the
lawyer.
governors for
Didn't the executive order get rid of all fines?
Individual fines. It did not. I don't think it gave
verbiage now.
Yeah, we're going to find it. But I'm almost positive it was individual.
So what I've
because
seen
the county
also-
is not giving it to the individual, it's giving it to the business.
Supreme Court says businesses are people. So Citizens United. So I'm having a hard time understanding how a citizen. How a business that's owned by a person has to pay the fine that they themselves wouldn't have to pay.
So what I'm
having a hard
seeing
time understanding
also
that.
is the county code enforcement. So say like you have a light bulb that's not like lit up correctly. If you're not complying with the code, it's going to screw with you on that. Which isn't that illegal?
Yeah.
Isn't that basically it's like fruit of the poisonous tree or something of that nature? We discussed this earlier in the week, I believe.
Does that apply for civil stuff? Because that's civil.
I don't know, but
we're getting into
I
law
would
here.
think that there is some kind of ethics violation involved in saying I don't like what you're doing here, but it's not illegal, so I'm gonna screw with you somewhere else.
My understanding is that there's no fine that can be mandated.
I thought it was businesses and people.
The executive order, think about it. It's not like the state patrol was going around finding people. The executive order covered every government entity in the state of Florida. You cannot fine people.
You got it.
Right, but does that apply to businesses?
I don't see how it
That's
doesn't.
where the loophole went.
I don't see how it
now
doesn't.
county commissions are trying to fight that.
Well, you've seen Pinellas County Commission, and you've seen...
But it goes back to the point. Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
You've seen a band of mayors in Pinellas County. You've seen Pinellas County Commission. You've seen Hillsborough County Commission band together and begin not... So we have our caseloads going like this, and you have them being like, oh, well, we're going to race to safer. We're going to make sure everyone's safe, even though we're doing that on our own, and it's happening, regardless of your input.
Everywhere you go, people are wearing masks.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, everywhere you go, people are wearing masks.
They're ramping up regulations and restrictions despite a decrease in cases and deaths across the entire region.
Yeah, obviously. I
It's
mean,
immoral.
Anibal, because Anibal's over there making faces about everybody not wearing masks. But it's
There are many parts of
haven't
Florida.
seen it.
There are many parts of Florida
Look,
that people are not wearing masks.
Yeah, look, I saw it
There are many
happen.
parts in Hillsborough County that are not wearing masks.
I saw it happen this weekend. I went into a Publix over in Treasure Island, and 2 people walked in, and they were like, "Oh, forgot my mask," and they just went in about their business on Publix, and nobody said anything. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but for the most part, I'd say generally, the high average of people out there are doing what's being asked of them. Again, you're going to have your people who don't want to wear the mask, and they're going to protest because the government ain't going to tell me what to do. I mean, but
Don't you mock them.
That accent is not from
classist,
that was offensive.
regionalist.
Were you offended? I was triggered. I got triggered a little
I was
bit.
offended on behalf of Ken
A little bit triggered.
As your native cracker, I am offended.
I was a little bit
quite
offended.
I'm appealing to our liberal
Hey,
viewers.
I grew up in the sticks.
Yeah, it's gonna
It
work
might
out.
not look like it, but I did grow up in the sticks.
The assumption that accent and education or intellect are connected is not true.
No, it's more about it's more about an association of political philosophy. Honestly, I mean, it's
Are you
know,
clinging to your
he's
God,
trying to-
guns, and religion?
That's a nice
Damn
slow
right.
walk back
Are
there,
you clinging
Torres.
to your
I
God
know
guns?
that New York metropolitan look back.
ain't no county commissioner gonna tell me what to do.
Now that we've offended half the audience.
All right, it's good to talk to you guys tonight.
Anyways, the governor has they just reported the governor will be modifying the order and pushing for more language to protect businesses.
Good.
There
Yeah.
you go.
It's about
That
friggin'
was the
time. It's only been,
general-
what, 4 or 5 months?
His overall point wasn't even about the individuals, more so about protecting Florida business and keeping Florida open for business. I mean,
Yeah.
because again, that trickles down to everybody. You can go back to work.
So think
You
about
can-
what that
yeah.
means then. That means that the city of Tampa or Hillsborough County's attorney, they basically the political leaders basically went to the attorney, the county attorney or the city attorney, and said, how can we do something under the governor's executive order? How can we still restrict
Yeah,
business or
right.
people? And that attorney came back with an opinion, most likely, that said, well, technically you could go after the business. And so now the governor has to come back and smack that
Oh,
down.
you can't stand at a bar. You can't dance at a bar.
You could say, you can't limit the personnel, because I don't think per the governor's order they can limit
They cannot
the
limit.
number of people. So now they're saying, well, you can't limit the number of people, but you can tell them they can't stand at the bar.
Well, you know where you can stand around and dance is Walmart.
That's right. And you can have
What
church in
about chair
Walmart.
dancing? That was a cool
Which
thing for
they
like
did.
senior homes.
And there was a church, which Anibal posted it in the group or whatever, the church in California where the guy took off his tie, the preacher took off his tie, because that is defined as an article of clothing, because strip clubs were allowed to operate, but churches weren't.
In
So the
California.
church just says, hey, take the tie off, throw it in the crowd. I guess we're a strip
In
club now.
California, if the striptease is more than 30 seconds long, it's classified as a strip club.
More than 30 seconds.
It had to be 30. It
had to be
a particular
30
kind of
seconds?
And they took
It's
off
just
like
so
2 or 3
stupid.
articles of
You
clothing.
can't
but it happened.
stop people. You can't stop people.
You can't stop the beat. Okay.
Yeah,
So they're also
and aren't,
screwing
aren't
with
they? Aren't
Beer
they
Can
having
Island, too.
church like in casinos? Aren't in
Yeah.
Vegas? In Vegas, didn't some churches just go rent out the casino?
I think so,
hall?
yeah.
And they were just like, we're just gonna rent the casino hall. We'll
In
have church in the
Washington
casino.
State, you had churches operating in Walmarts and in other retail spaces
Did you
that
say?
were allowed
Whoa,
to
whoa,
open.
whoa, whoa, whoa! Back on the country accent for a second and making fun of people and their education staff. Did you just call it Walmarts?
The Walmarts.
Did you also go to Kmart's?
Are there Kmart's left?
There was never a Kmart. Kmart's. There was a Kmart and there is a Walmart. There's no Walmarts.
Irregardless, please.
Get
And
your-
also irregardless. And
Irregardless.
irregardless is not a word.
Damn
either.
it, an evil.
It
Boy,
actually
this-
no.
this-
It
hey,
was.
this
no,
Southern
That
over
is,
here.
irregardless is a word.
It is now a word. It was added
Oh,
about
it was
3 years
added.
ago.
Oh, okay.
It
Very
doesn't count
popularly
if it was
used in
added because
Miami
people
as
were
well.
using it incorrectly. Very commonly.
They love it down in Miami. They
So
love
the Florida
irregardless.
governor has vowed to hobble any local leaders who try to shut down businesses for COVID safety. And this is the Orlando Sentinel that's talking, like that's promoting the governor's point. I am so surprised the Orlando Sentinel has become
They're
so
reporting on it. They're not endorsing
I'm
it.
reading the article. They're not knocking him for it. I'm very
Oh,
surprised.
there's a guy who's just dedicated to just trashing Republicans at the Orlando
Oh,
Sentinel.
yeah. That's why I'm very surprised they allowed this to
Yeah,
happen.
no, I mean, he is worse than anything that Vox or MSNBC or the Daily Beast could put together. The guy is absolutely atrocious.
So-
And for employing him alone, the Orlando Sentinel should be shut down. Anyway, sorry
another
about that.
local story. The Hillsborough County Commission or Tampa, I forget which agency it is. They're pissed because Beer Can Island is not zoned in a way that they can screw with them.
It's Hillsborough County. Yeah.
So they're not zoned as a restaurant. They're not zoned as industrial. They don't have a zoning, so they can't pull their permitting.
Right.
They can't.
There's no permitting.
They can't give them code violations based on their zoning, so they're pissed about it. And they're trying to now find a way to zone Beer Can Island so they can restrict them.
People got nothing else to do, evidently.
Again, open air.
Show me how many coronavirus cases are linked to Beer Can Island, for God's sake.
Show me how many 75-year-olds are going to Beer Can Island. Like, again, The next 3 months is vital for this country. Once the vaccine is out there, once almost 100 million people have gotten it within the first or second quarter, what are you going to do by continual the shutdown? It makes absolutely no sense.
I'm not trying to hear it. Look, once that vaccine is out, and everybody's good to go, like I'm over it. I'm done.
So I
don't want to hear nothing else about it.
Are you going to be carrying around your card for saying that you got vaccine?
Is there a card?
So yeah,
there's a card.
Well, they give you that like a shot record. I mean, everybody, whenever you get a vaccine, you get like a.
Will you
shot
be showing
record.
your papers if someone asks you?
Well, I'm a citizen.
See your papers.
I'm a citizen of a republic.
Papers, please.
Okay.
Thank you, Johnny, for hearing my accent.
I am a citizen of this great republic, and the citizens are in charge. I don't show papers to anybody. I mean,
Papers.
All right, so
unless I'm driving an automobile and then a cop asks for my driver's license registration, then I'll show those papers. Because I previously agreed to that. What do you mean? What do you mean show papers? You're saying that people are going to have to walk around with a vaccine card or your shot record or something?
I think what's going to start happening.
I'm going to ask my mom, Mommy, can I get my shot record from when I was,
People are going to start
diphtheria.
Because again, now you're starting to release. So like, I know that Walmart and like Publix are okay with you going to their stores without a mask because that's starting to be okay to start doing that. If you get confronted, will you be? What's going to start happening? Do you
Showing
think
your papers?
I know. Do you think airlines, domestic
papers.
airlines, are going to force people to have the test ahead of time?
Well, here's the thing. Look, I am not. So this is kind of like the mask issue. Okay, I haven't really thought about the whole
Hector,
vaccine
we get
record.
it. They don't have papers at the VA.
I haven't given it enough thought to really be able to talk about maybe the vaccine shot record. But I look at this a lot like masks. I'm not anti-mask, but I am anti-government mandate. Okay, so the biggest issue really is, okay, so a private employer is requiring something, how and what and why and what's my relationship with them? I mean, you don't have to fly. So just like you agree to a lot of other things, I mean, you agree to you actually agree to searches. But I mean, you agree to searches without probable cause when you fly. They bring the dog around, whatever. Yeah. I mean, you're agreeing to certain things. So, right. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just think that a lot of this is fear driven and people are afraid of cops with barcode scanner. I mean, I don't think
corporations are more afraid of lawyers.
I don't think we're headed that way. The truth is, I mean, look, again, like I said, I'm not for the government doing any of that stuff. Okay. But, Target probably knows more about you based off of your rewards card, okay, than any government agency actually knows, unless they're specifically trying to, find out what you're up to. I mean, come on, man. Facebook knows you're about to have a baby before you even know you're pregnant. I mean, they start marketing to women and couples and stuff, and you're like, what? Why am I getting? Are we pregnant?
Are you about to announce something on?
No,
air
I'm saying no, but it's.
You have your
is your wife watching at the moment?
Go check it out. Like just based off of your searches, they have all these algorithms that determine all these other things about you that you may not even know about yourself.
Oh yeah, our phones are definitely watching over us, but that is a completely different topic.
Yeah.
Jonathan.
Yeah.
If you want to land this plane.
Yeah, let's do it. Thank you, everybody, for watching. On that note,
you can't land unless you have your paper. You got to have your papers.
Your papers, please.
Okay,
it's like Spirit Airlines. Spirit Airlines charges you an extra $35 to land. It's like,
What?
Oh, Spirit Airlines hits you for everything. Spirit Airline hits you. Oh, you have a bag, sir? Oh, that's an extra $35. Oh, whoa. How much does that bag weigh? Everybody else limits 50. Ours is 40. That'll be another 25.
That's right.
Oh, you wanted to bring. Oh. Well, if you want to bring that on, you were going to bring your purse on board, ma'am. That'll be another $25.
All right. Thank you so much to everybody for watching the Yard Sign. Well, as you can see, the conversation will absolutely continue after we're done with tonight's show. Don't forget, you can catch the audio version of our podcast on Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon, and Audible platforms. You can also catch this show over on YouTube as well. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Especially let us know what you're thinking about, talking about with your friends and family members, and we'd love to incorporate that into the show. As always, thank you to those fools over there, Joe Wicker, VerKuilen, and Anibal, David Cabrera. This is Jonny Torres. Thanking you so much for watching. We'll catch you next time. Have a great night. So long, everybody.